Good afternoon to all present here. I am Seema Pathak, lecturer, Department of Training and Placement, IIMT College Polytechnic, Greater Noida. Today, I'm going to discuss the 7 C's of communication. What are the 7 C's of communication? Now, children, what does communication mean? Communication means the way of talking, how you pass on your message to another person. Number 1, completeness. Your message should be complete. What you want to say should be complete in all form. Concise. Concise means very short, very crispy. Consideration, you consider what message you have to pass on. Concreteness. Concreteness means that whatever facts are you have to pass on are in its concrete form. Clarity, clarity of speech, clarity of thoughts, and clarity of ideas. Courtesy, while speaking, while passing the message, either written or verbal, it has to be very courteous. Correctness, while passing the messages, while passing your communication, you have to be correct. It has to be correct in all forms. Children, while providing all necessary information, we have to give the detail, all that is necessary for complete and accurate understanding. One way to make your message complete is by asking 5 W questions, and they are who, what, when, where, and why, and other essentials as to how. So, while providing any information, either verbal or written, we have to take into consideration the 5 W's and 1 H. For example, to reserve a hotel banquet room, specify the accommodation needed. Accommodation needed, what is needed? Location, where? Sponsoring organization, who is sponsoring it? Date and time, which time and which date? Why is that particular thing needed? If any questions asked, you have to answer all the questions. Whenever you reply to an inquiry, try to answer all the questions. The question should be answered and none should be skipped. A colleague or a customer's reaction to an incomplete reply may leave a bad impression. This means that if the person concerned has not received the information he needs, it will give a bad impression on the company. If you don't have any particular information, clearly say so. This means that if you do not know anything about a certain thing, clearly specify that information is not known to you. If you have an unfavorable information, handle it with honesty and tact. Some information which you think is not correct, but you have to answer it. That has to be answered with honesty and tactfully. For example, a software distributor, when replying to a dealer's letter, answered only 4 of 7 questions. Now, this is something which is not needed, because if the questions are 7, all 7 of them have to be replied, because the original questions were unnumbered and somewhat buried in 5 long paragraphs. So the respondent overlooked and disregarded 3 of them. Now, because they were in long paragraphs, this doesn't mean that you have to not answer the rest of the questions. The reply, unfriendly and incomplete, causes the distributor to lose business and goodwill of a potential customer. Now again, if the answers were not given, so the distributor will lose his business. Give extra detail when desired. Now, more than the answer, specific questions pointed out by the customer. Now, customers, as usual, have innumerable questions, and we should all try to give the answers to all of them, as they may not know what they need, or their questions may be inadequate. For example, there's an inadequate question. How come my request for an interview letter did not receive a response? Now he's asking the person how his interview letter was not accepted and neither responded by the person. Extra detail. When was the letter sent? Who sent it? To whom was it sent? You need to inquire all the information to give proper reply for this inquiry. Number 2, conciseness. Conciseness means in short, a summary. Conciseness is saying what you have to say in the fewest possible words without sacrificing other qualities. A concise message is incomplete without being wordy. So when you have passing on a concise message, you have to avoid unnecessary words. A concise message saves time both for the sender and the receiver. The receiver does not waste time while reading it. Conciseness contributes to emphasis. By eliminating unnecessary words, you let important ideas stand out. When combined with you interview, concise messages are more interesting to the recipients. Now, generally, the person who is receiving the message wants something which is crispy and short. Conciseness includes, now points included in the conciseness means eliminate wordy expressions, include only relevant material. So while writing the message, you have to be very sure and clear in your minds which message has to be passed out. Avoid unnecessary repetition. Now again, what unnecessary repetition is? Repetition of words or ideas. Eliminate wordy expression. Use single word substitutions instead of phrases without changing the meaning. In this case, this requires a lot of vocabulary. For example, wordy, wordy in due course. So instead of writing due course, you can write concisely soon. Please find here the attached list you requested. Again, in a concise form, you can say the list you requested is attached. Again, another wordy example. She bought desks that are of the executive type. Concise. She bought executive type desks. So you have to be very concise in passing on your messages. Include only relevant material. Now again, while writing the message, you should be sure of what message you have to pass on to the reader. So stick to the purpose of the message. This means the idea of the message should be clear. Delete irrelevant words and sentences. Words which are not needed and sentences which do not bring out the meaning should be deleted. Omit information obvious to the receiver. This means information which is obvious to the person who is going to read the message should be deleted, should be omitted. Avoid long introductions, unnecessary explanations, excessive preposition and adjectives. This again is being very, very wordy. So you should be to the point. We should avoid prepositions which are not needed and adjectives also which are not needed. Get to the important point concisely. So in short, you have to be precise and concise. Example. We hereby wish to let you know that our company is pleased with the confidence that you have reposed in us. Now, instead of writing this lengthy line, we could have written, we appreciate your confidence. Again, avoid unnecessary repetition. Use shorter name after you have used a long one. Instead of using the North Central Company, use North Central. So avoid repetition. Cut out all needless repetition of phrases and sentences. Sometimes it is possible to combine 2 or even more sentences by using conjunctions. This again is grammatically correct and the use of conjunctions is needed. For example, will you ship us this time? Any time during the month of October would be fine, or even November if you are rushed. November would suit just as well, in fact, a little bit more. 300 of the regular 3 by 15 inches blue brands with white sewn letters in the center. Thank you in advance by sending us this long to us by parcel post and not express, as express is too expensive. Now again, this is a very lengthy message. So to make it short, crispy and concise, it could be written like this. Please ship parcel post before the end of November, 300 regular by 15 inches blue felt armbands with white sewn letters in the center. Third point, consideration. Consideration means preparing every message with the message receivers in mind. This means that you have to keep in mind the person who is receiving the message. Put yourself at their place, being aware of their ideas, emotions, attitudes, desires, circumstances, and probable reactions to your point. So, in short, we have to place ourselves in their shoes while passing the message. Handle the matter from their point of view, called as you attitude. So now you have to write the message, you have to send the message from their point of view. It is not your point of view. Focus on you instead of I and we. Again, we should not be selfish while passing on messages, but instead of writing you, I and you should, I and we should say you as the prior. Show audience benefit and interest in the receiver. Emphasize positive, pleasant facts. Again, negativity has to be avoided. Focus on you instead of I and we. Now, to create a considerate, audience-oriented messages, focus on how receivers will benefit, what they will receive, and what they need to know. This means that our focus is on the receiver of the message. Example, we shows an attitude. I am delighted to announce that we will be extending our hours to make shopping more convenient. Instead of this, you attitude. You will be able to shop evenings with the extended hours. This sounds better. Concreteness. Again, this means solid facts. Communicating concretely means specific, definite, vivid, rather than vague in general. So, this means that we should not be cooking up a story, but writing the facts. Use denotative words, dictionary basis direct, rather than connotative words, ideas or notions suggested by or associated with the words. Increase the chances that the message will be interpreted the way the sender intended. Now, the person who receives the message can interpret it in any way, but the writer of the message should write the message in such a way that what we want to say is passed on to the receiver. More vivid and interesting. All the facts should be very clear and interesting. Use specific facts and figures, not just talking in the air. Use exact and precise statement or a figure instead of a general word to make your message more concrete. So days, dates, amount should be noted. For example, it should not be vague, it should be general and definite. Student GMT scores are higher, precise. In 1999, the GMAT scores averaged 600 by 1,997. They had risen to in 610. So the message should be concise. Clarity. Clarity again means clear ideas. Clarity of speech means way you speak, the letters, the words you speak should have a clear, so that what the hearer, a person who wants to receive a message gets the clear point of view. Clarity in speech is also very important while you're passing on a message verbally. Conveying the meaning exactly as you have thought of it accurately is the purpose of clarity. So while passing on a message, along with being clear, you have to be very accurate. That is to the point. Choose precise and familiar words. Again, need not go very high-fi. Construct effective sentences and paragraphs. Clarity is achieved in part through a balance between precise language and familiar words. Again, you have to be very clear, short, crisp while passing the message so that the person who's trying to read it does not have to use a dictionary. Precise language means selecting exactly the right words to convey the meaning. Familiar language comprises words of one's personal repertoire, familiar to the audience and appropriate for the situation. Again, this means you have to be very clear in your speech, in what you want to say, in the message you want to pass on. There are some familiar words and there are certain pretentious words. For example, when you want to use a familiar word, you will say after. But if you want to use some pretentious high-fi word, you will say subsequent. Home, domicile. For example, invoice, statement for payment. Use business jargon. Business language is always used where there is a business or professional situation. Use business language and technical terms in professional situations. Avoid communicating to a person not acquainted with terminology. So a person who is not aware of the technical terms, you have to be very careful while communicating. Even then, if you must use the terms, explain briefly and clearly for proper understanding. Now, if you have to talk to a non-technical person or pass a message to a non-technical person, you should explain those certain words to the person with whom you are messaging or talking. Again, this is courtesy. Courtesy means that you are aware of others' feelings. Courtesy means not only being aware of others' perspectives and feelings, courtesy stems from the sincere you attitudes. So while being considerate, you have to be sincere in what you are saying. To show respect and concern for others. This means while speaking, while passing a message, you should not be rude. Considering your audience. Now the audience has also to be taken into consideration. Being sincere and tactful, thoughtful and appreciative. While communicating, you have to appreciate, you have to think a lot, you have to use certain words, certain postures for being tactful, and sincerity is, of course, very needed. Use expressions that show respect. While communicating, expressions showing respect are needed. Choose non-discriminatory expressions. You need not be derogatory and should not be derogatory while speaking. Be sincerely tactful, thoughtful, and appreciative. So you have to be tactful while keeping in mind the audience culture, feeling, and respect. You have to be very appreciative. Avoid being blunt or abrupt as negative feelings arise from personal negative attitude or when a person does not know the culture of a country. So you have to be you have to avoid being blunt, avoid being short, because all these feelings, they create negativity. Tactless is again blunt. You have to be more tactful. Stupid letter. I can't understand any of this. It's my understanding that I did not get what you mean. So this is a better way of saying, you did not read my latest facts. Sometimes my words thing is not precise. Let me try again. I rewrote that letter 3 times. The point was clear. Again, you have to be very sorry. You have to give a sorry feeling. Sincere. I'm sorry, the point was not clear. Here is another version. So while speaking, while passing on a message, while communicating, you have to be apprehensive of others' feelings. Another point, correctness. Now, while speaking, while writing, we have to use correct grammar, Correct punctuation marks and the spellings, of course, need to be correct. Some messages, though grammatically and mechanically are complete, but they may insult or lose a customer because people use punctuation marks in the wrong or in the wrong way, and spellings are often wrong. So use the right level of language. This means your words should be correct and appropriate. Check accuracy of facts, figures, and words. Maintain acceptable writing mechanics. Use the right level of language. Now, there are 3 levels of language: formal, informal, and substantial. So, our level of language should be formal when it is a formal occasion and informal when we are just talking to friends, maybe relatives, maybe your colleagues, but to officials, you need to be very formal. So, writing style for each level is different. Thank you very much.